We unmuted?
Yep.
All right. Fantastic. Welcome, everyone, and I'll turn it over to Anna.
Well, that was quick. All right, welcome, everyone. Do we want to go through the introductions to know you all down here for each?
Yep, yeah, let's go.
Okay. Well, let's go through introductions from, I guess we'll just start in the room. I don't know if we have actual TCC on board on either side, but we'll start down here at the end of the table. Catherine Cordell, Weaverville.
Shannon Gallus, Town of Mills River.
Matt Wechsel, Madison County.
Troy Wilson, NCDOT Division 14.
Ralph Hamlet, Town of Kent.
Anna Biancoy, Henderson County. Autumn Radcliffe, Henderson County.
Tristan Winkler, French Broad River, MPO.
Anthony Sutton, Town of Waynesville.
Logan DeGiacomo, French Broad River, MPO.
Hannah Bagley, French Broad River, MPO.
Asha Rado, Land of Sky Regional Council.
Vicki Easton, Land of Sky RPO.
Aaron Coletta, Village of Flat Rock.
Bill Casper, Buncombe County.
William High, Buncombe County.
And can you walk us through who's online?
Yes.
This is
Right.
Chris, DOT.
Jessica Troutman in Black Mountain.
Art Pillar, Black Mountain.
John Barsanti, Land of Sky.
Bob Davy, Town of Fletcher.
Don Whitmer, Town of Montreat.
Kevin Inslee, Haywood County.
Pat Christie, Village of Flat Rock.
Stephen Sparks, NCDOT Division 13.
George Banta, Town of Laurel Park.
Jen Hensley, the City of Hendersonville.
Chuck McGrady, Board of Transportation.
Lucy Crown, City of Asheville.
Steve Williams, DOT Division 14.
Did we miss anyone? Yeah, anyone else?
Elizabeth Teague, Town of Waynesville.
Eric Rupa, Town of Fletcher.
Mike Malachek, Town of Mills River.
Kim Roney, City of Asheville.
This is Daniel Sellers, NCDOT Planning Branch.
All right. That was incredible, folks. Least chaotic online roll call I've ever seen. That was crazy. Thank you. So welcome, everybody. I know it's a large group, and we appreciate you. And it looks like we can do things in an orderly manner, which is fantastic. So I think I need to read the ethics statement for the MPO board. In accordance with the State Government Ethics Act, it is the duty of every board member to avoid conflicts of interest. Does any board member have any known conflict of interest with respect to any matters coming before the board today? If so, please identify the conflict and refrain from any participation in that particular matter involved. Does anyone have a conflict? Hearing none, we'll move to public comment. Do we have any public? No. Okay. Autumn, you're on.
All right. These joint meetings are always fun. It's kind of like a ping pong match for a little while. So we need to approve, the TCC members, we need to approve the agenda and the consent agenda. For us, it would be item 3A, our minutes from October. Does anyone have any changes, or does someone want to make a motion to approve?
This is William. I'll make a motion to approve.
Vicki, I'll second.
Thank you. All right. Do you want to take us through roll call for that, or?
Yes. Logan.
Okay, Logan gets been on.
All right. Asheville, Lucy Crown.
Aye.
Art Jessica Morris.
Aye.
Black Mountain, Jessica Trotman.
Aye.
Buncombe County, William High.
Approved.
Buncombe Transit, Dylan Casper. Approved. TPD, Daniel Sellers.
Approved.
Flat Rock, Pat Christie.
Aye.
Fletcher, Eric Rupa.
Aye.
Anderson County, Autumn Ratcliffe.
Aye.
Apple Country Transit, Jana Bianculli.
Aye.
Mills River, Mike Malachek.
Approve.
RPO, Vicky Eastland.
Aye.
Waynesville, Elizabeth T.
Approve.
And Division 13, Troy Wilson. Approved. Did I miss anyone?
Tom Whitmer, Tom Whitmer's name wasn't called, but I approve.
That's for TCC. We'll get to you in a second, Tom, with the board.
Oh, okay, sorry.
My, no worries. So for the MPO, we need a motion to approve the October 2023 board minutes and the consent agenda, or the agenda. Do I have a motion from any MPO board member?
So moved. Ann Coletta, Village of
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Chuck McGrady.
Thank you. Beat the jump. Okay.
Asheville, Cameroni.
Aye.
Black Mountain, Archie Portiller.
Aye.
DOT Division 14, Chuck McGrady.
Aye.
Canton, Dr. Ralph Hamlet. Flat Rock, Ann Coletta. Aye. Fletcher, Bob Davy.
Aye.
Haywood County, Kevin Ensley.
Aye.
Hendersonville, Jennifer Hensley.
Aye.
Laurel Park, George Banta.
Aye.
Madison County, Matt Wexel.
Aye.
Mills River, Shannon Gaunt.
Aye.
Montreat, Tom Widmer.
Aye.
Rural Transit, David White.
Aye.
Weaverville, Catherine Cordell. Aye. And Waynesville, Anthony Sutton.
Aye.
The ayes have it.
Fantastic. Now we'll move to the business items. The first is the amendments to the 2024 to 2033 Transportation Improvements Program.
Yeah. All right. There aren't many amendments this month. Part of the set of amendments we have this month is reflecting transit funds in the TIP that are programmed but haven't been maybe properly reflected in the TIP. And that is 5310 and JARC funds. So the first couple amendments in your packet are those. Beyond that, there is a reflection of addition of engineering funds in FY24 for a section of the acoustic trail. That's the section that goes from Horseshoe to the Transylvania County line, and the addition of construction funds to Town Branch Greenway and Craven Street bridge improvements that weren't previously programmed. There's a few miscellaneous projects that have a modification from state funds to federal funds, but the amount is the same. And then there is a termini change for the Inca Heritage Trail. So it won't be running all the way to Sand Hill Road anymore. It'll be almost to Sand Hill Road in an out and back fashion. And that was due to some environmental issues.
TCC would have to do this first. Just to note, we have been coordinating with Buncombe County. I do want to note that I really do appreciate the efforts of Buncombe County to kind of walk us and other stakeholders through the issues that came up as part of the Inca Heritage Trail. There are a number of environmental issues that essentially make the preferred alignment that was being designed essentially impossible. And after looking at a number of options, what was determined was best at this point was to shorten the termini of the project as reflected in the packet.
For TCC, does anyone have any questions or discussion about anything that was presented? So we do need to make a recommendation to approve all of these changes to the board, if anyone wants to make a motion. I'll move to recommend item 4A to the Board of Transportation. Okay, is there a second?
Ms. William, I'll second.
Okay. Pat Logan.
All right. Asheville, Lucy Crown.
Aye.
Mark Jessica Morris.
Aye.
Black Mountain, Jessica Trotman.
Aye.
Malcolm Buncombe County, William High.
Approved.
Buncombe Transit, Dylan Casper. Approved. TPD, Daniel Sellers.
Approved.
Flat Rock, Pat Christie.
Aye.
Fletcher, Eric Rufa.
Aye.
Henderson County, Autumn Ratcliffe.
Aye.
Apple Country Transit, Genevieve Cooley.
Aye.
Mills River, Mike Malachek.
Approved.
RPO, Vicky Eastland.
Aye.
And, Waynesville, Elizabeth Teague.
Approve.
And Division 14, Troy Wilson.
Approved.
The ayes have it.
Moving to the MPO, does anyone have any discussion items for any one of these that you want to discuss? Maybe we should have these joint meetings more. Okay. So I'll look for a motion to approve. So moved. Thank you. And a second? A second. Thank you, Dr.
Asheville, Kim Roney.
Aye.
Black Mountain, Archie Portiller.
Aye.
DOT Division 14, Chuck McGrady.
Aye.
Canton, Dr. Ralph Hamlet.
Aye.
Flat Rock, Ann Coletta. Aye. Fletcher, Bob Davy.
Aye.
Haywood County, Kevin Ensley.
Aye.
Henderson County, Bill Lapsley. Hendersonville, Jennifer Hensley.
Aye.
Laurel Park, George Banta.
Aye.
Madison County, Matt Wexel.
Aye.
Mills River, Shannon Gaunt.
Aye.
Montree, Tom Widmer.
Aye.
Rural Transit, David White.
Aye.
Waynesville, Anthony Sutton.
Aye.
And Weaverville, Catherine Cordell. Aye. The ayes have it.
Thank you. Next, we'll move to business 4B, which is the Citizens Advisory Committee new members.
Okay.
Look at your own.
I'm on again. So, the MPO is relaunching its Citizens Advisory Committee. This is a committee that's been dormant for a little bit. So we're looking forward to getting it going again. It serves as an advisory board to the TCC or advisory body, to the TCC and the board. And the goal of it is to provide independent, region-oriented citizen advice to the TCC and board, basically related to public involvement, specifically to the development of the NTP, UPWP, the TIP, and any other processes or planning efforts that require public involvement. The NTP is something we are working on updating. We're in the process now. There's an RFL out, but next year we'll be working on that. So that'll be an important thing that the CAC works on. And the UPWP is updated every year, every fiscal year. So that'll be something that they are working on as well. We're also just working on increasing any avenue for public involvement. So, we're looking forward to getting this going again and, increasing public involvement in any ways that we can. So the board does need to approve or appoint all new members, and we do have 3 people that are interested in joining the CAC. So the first member is Chris Parker, who is the director of Thrive, or formerly known as Thrive for Health, which is a nonprofit that focuses on accessible mental and physical health care based out of Hendersonville. There's Jasmine Rogers, who is the Community Development Coordinator for Eagle Market Development Corporation. That's a nonprofit that focuses on accessible housing and uplifting businesses in marginalized communities that's based out of Buncombe County. And then a couple different applicants from the STEADY Collective, which is a nonprofit that works on drug harm reduction based out of Asheville.
Yeah. For the STEADY Collective, are we nominating all those individuals or just one?
They said in their application, any of them. So I think it might become like a who can attend situation. Yeah.
Is this the whole advisory group?
No, so we have members already, but it's been a while, so we kind of wanted to open it up to new members as well. So no, this isn't the whole committee.
What is the size of the whole committee?
believe it's a maximum of 18, and we've never had 18. But in general, a lot of what this committee has done in the past has gone through surveys and public input strategies that we've done. I will say that this group has been instrumental in getting the number of survey responses we've gotten in the past. And I will say a big part of that is the Flat Rock representative who loaded up our email distribution list. And so I'd say with some of the more recent surveys we've done, we've gotten a lot of response from pockets of the region, but there's a lot of pockets where we aren't getting answers or getting responses. So I do think as part of what I asked Logan to look into is how can we tap into kind of the underrepresented groups. We have noticed that even in public input efforts in the past, even when we've gotten good or great responses across the whole region, the pockets where we're really missing a lot of times are kind of the lower income pockets of the region. So trying to tap into those underrepresented groups is kind of a renewed effort we're trying to do. Thank you. Is
the list of the committee online? Can we go online and the list of the members who's there, or can you send that to us?
I can put it on.
So since you got a max of 18, does it feel like you've got 18? That way we can kind of look at it and see if maybe you're missing some organizations or some other things maybe we can help reach out to.
It's definitely a rolling admission application thing, so, we're not gonna stop here, hopefully.
All right, does anyone have any questions from TCC? Not, we need to make a motion to recommend adding these 3 organizations as members to the committee.
William will make a recommendation to advance these names to the board.
Thank you. Is there a second?
This is Lucy, I second.
All right, Logan, take us through roll call again.
All right, Asheville, Lucy Crown.
Aye.
Mark, Jessica Morris.
Aye.
Black Mountain, Jessica Trotman.
Aye.
Buncombe County, William High.
Approved.
Buncombe Transit, Dylan Casper. Approved. TPD, Daniel Sellers.
Aye.
Flat Rock, Pat Christie.
Aye.
Fletcher, Eric Rufa.
Aye.
Henderson County, Autumn Radcliffe.
Aye.
Apple Country Transit, Joanna Van Cooley.
Aye.
Hills River, Mike Malachek.
Approved.
Audio, Vicky Eastland.
Aye.
Waynesville, Elizabeth T.
Aye.
Division 14, Troy Wilson.
Aye.
Ayes have it.
Fantastic. Moving to the MPO board. Is there any discussion, or would someone like to make a motion?
I have a question, Anthony. First of all, I think it's a great idea. I'm curious to know why it was suspended in the first place, and just the thought behind that. And secondly, I noticed under the purpose of the CAC, item B is to provide independent region-oriented citizen advice. Yet the individuals that are there are representing organizations. Are we doing anything to solicit citizen representation?
So I guess for the first part, why has it been suspended? I'll say that honestly, a lot of that goes to staff capacity. We've had a lot of turnover, and so the people that were managing this committee are no longer with us. They're still alive, no longer with the MPO.
They're dead to us.
Yeah, they're just dead to us. Nick Krumke sometimes joins, so we miss you, Nick. We love you. So we have had a lot of turnover, and also just, we haven't had a round of spot in 4 years. That honestly was one of the big things that this committee worked on. We haven't updated the MCT since 2020. That's something that gets updated every 5 years. So A big part of it was turnover, but also a big part is we just did not have a ton of work for this committee. In the upcoming year, we are anticipating, once again, putting together a spot or prioritization survey. We are updating the MTP. This should be a busy little group. That's one question. Tom, I think to your follow-up in terms of soliciting other citizens, in general, I'd say we've had a rolling call for applicants. I think the applicants that you see here are the result of specific outreach that MPO staff did, but we can send out something asking for additional members if folks are aware of other people that they'd like to get involved or think would be a good fit.
And I can probably foresee these organizations reaching out to people in the community to ask them to join as well. Yeah. Does that answer your question, Tom?
It sure does. Thank you, Anthony. Interesting.
Any other discussion or questions? Look for a motion. I'll make a motion. Thank you. Do we have a second?
This is Kim Roney from Asheville, second.
Thank you.
Asheville, Kim Roney.
Aye.
Black Mountain, Archie Portiller.
Aye.
DOT Division 14, Chuck McGrady.
Aye.
Canton, Dr. Ralph Hamlet.
Aye.
Flat Rock, Ann Coletta. Aye. Fletcher, Bob Davy.
Aye.
Haywood County, Kevin Ensley.
Aye.
Henderson County, Bill Lapsley. Hendersonville, Jennifer Hensley.
Aye.
Laurel Park, George Banta.
Aye.
Madison County, Matt Wexel.
Aye.
Mills River, Shannon Gaunt.
Aye.
Montreat, Tom Widmer.
Aye.
Rural Transit, David White.
Aye.
Waynesville, Anthony Sutton.
Aye.
And Weaverville, Catherine Cordell. Aye. The ayes have it.
Thank you, everyone. I think that actually concludes our business for the day, and I want to commend the staff for making this go so smoothly. That's incredible. A lot of planning put into this, I know. So, so we'll go up to the informational items, the travel demand model and CAS changes. Daniel Filler, you're up.
I'll give a quick intro. This is something that I think has been mentioned a few times during updates. This is something that I will say is one of the wonkier things at the MPO, the travel demand model and everything that goes into it. It is largely a ton of work that is mostly done behind the scenes. We try to spare you guys as much as we can the dirty details on this sausage. But kind of at this point, we've been working with Daniel and other folks at NCDOT for, I think, over a year on potentially making changes to the travel demand model. It kind of started with a few suggestions that NCDOT has run with. At this point, there are some pretty substantial changes that are going on. And a key thing for everyone to be aware of is that the travel demand model does play a pretty big role in a lot of things that happen in transportation. The travel demand model is something we use in long-range planning to help identify where our future traffic problems are likely to be. It's also something that NCDOT uses when they get into projects to help forecast how many lanes do they need, how many turn lanes do they need, things like that. It is a very important tool that is utilized. And an important thing to note is that it is essentially the NPO's model. The inputs that go into it are basically demographics and employment data. and what our region, as the MPO sees it, is going to grow into. How much does the MPO think our region is going to grow, and where do we think that growth is going to go? Those are key decisions that are made by the MPO that impact that project development and long-range planning as part of the travel demand model. Again, we've been having bi-weekly meetings with Daniel and his group on some of these changes, and thought it would be good to give you guys a quick snippet of some of the things that have been discussed over the last year or so. So with that, Daniel, please take it away.
I have to say, I cannot think of a better person to present this.
Big pressure, Daniel.
Yeah, thank you. And thanks for the introduction, because I'm terrible at introducing myself. I feel like that was actually so good I don't even need to do my presentation now.
That's not that far.
Not quite. Okay, still getting the share the screen up, but let's see if that. Let me know when you all see that. I will say, yes, it is a very wonky, and I like to use the phrase correctly. And I tried to spare you as much as I could in this presentation. But to Tristan's point, you know, we have met a lot, though I know y'all didn't show up last week. I sat there for 58 minutes before I quit. It was on Veterans Day, sorry. The we had our semi-annual model users group meeting yesterday, which is where all the modelers from around the state kind of come and share ideas and have a couple presentations. And this is not part of my presentation, but I was thoroughly impressed with Dr. Lita Huntsinger, who's working for NC State now, but one of the premier modelers in the state. Their entire most recent round of model updates has all been about data sharing and data visualization. These model developments are big lifts. There's lots of data that goes into them. And the more we can do to facilitate sharing the output, using it for different things, as Tristan covered, it's used for planning, it's used for forecasting. And I would just encourage, like, if you have questions, if you think some sort of transportation data can be relevant to some other project you're working for, it can't hurt to ask. And though, if we have something in the model we can share or, you know, try to visualize, it's not always easy. Part of what Lita was working on was streamlining it, but at worst we can say, no, we don't have that. But I think, you know, the more use we get out of these resources, the better. And so there's a soft pitch. So today, traffic analysis zones is the topic. This is a very early step one of model development. And advance. There we go. And we'll get into it. So for those of you who attend the annual, as it seems to be, orientations and trainings, you'll recognize the next two slides, but let's just quickly review what a model is. It's a representation of a real object, accounting for its relevant properties. It's not everything. And that's always something we want to mention with models. These are simplifications of real life. And we can do a good job simplifying, or we can do a poor job simplifying. And that influences kind of the downstream process and the applicability of these tools. And specifically for a transportation model, what it does is it translates land use into transportation demand. And as Tristan already mentioned, this land use, this population and employment data, this is how you see yourself growing, where you are now. This is really a community generated input. And then using our best practices, we try to translate that into travel demand. So one of the things that, this is a new slide y'all haven't seen, but just as an example, what we're talking about today is TAZs, transportation analysis zones. We don't sit there and analyze every single house in the entire state when we are analyzing transportation. we aggregate people. This has a lot to do with the rule of large numbers. It's very hard to predict what any one individual is doing, but when you have enough individuals, you can predict some average behavior. For example, 8 out of 10 people may go to work, and have a job every day. 3 out of 10 may make a trip to a school every day. And we can play these out in large numbers. So we take areas of land use that have very similar characteristics. For example, this photo is a neighborhood. This is all residential. And we group them together. And then we find the access points that it's most logical that somebody would access this zone through. And we build out these connectors and centroids. And this is a good example, Ariel, in that, this may have, say, 300 people living there right now, but there's a lot of undeveloped space. So then we can make an anticipatorial future conclusion that maybe there'll be 400 people here in the future as development finishes out. Or maybe it'll be fully developed out and there's no reason to change in the future. And those are some of the conclusions that we'll be moving towards in future updates. So these traffic analysis zones, they are unique to transportation modeling. Nobody else uses these zones. These are not, say, census blocks or block groups or zip codes that multiple agencies use. They're for our internal use. And the reason we're updating them now instead of not updating them, because it is a lot of work, and except for job security, I'd rather not, is because we do all of our analysis based around census data. And with the new 2020 census, the Census Bureau redraws all the blocks, and therefore our old TAZs don't match. They don't properly nest. And so we went through an effort to take the new 2020 census blocks, identify the similar land uses, and start aggregating them together. And then we apply some other characteristics to bound these in. One, we are talking about traffic. So we are interested in other geographic features that hinder traffic movement. Things like interstates. Because if you're not on the interstate, there's going to be very few places you can cross the interstate. Certain grade separations, certain bridges. The same is true of rivers. The same is true of railroads. The same is true of ridge lines. And me and John went back and forth, not back and forth, but just numerous, little debates about, well, is it better to end this TAZ here at the river or at the railroad? Because sometimes there's not a lot of land between the two, and how do you make those decisions? And so that's what we've ironed out. Or there would be loading issues, or we would debate about the land use. Anyways, it's been, as Tristan put it, wonky, arcane. And now we didn't plan for this, but that kind of naturally. Question?
Yeah, sorry, Daniel, it's Vicki. Just a quick question. Could you potentially maybe just kind of tell folks TAZs or census blocks are based on a population number of just why we went from 653 to 160 more TAZs to 813. Just kind of explain what qualifies as a TAZ. Sorry.
Right, and so that's kind of where I'm going. And so, like I said, we like to play the rule of large numbers. We don't like TAZs to be too small. We generally shoot for at least 300, but 300 to 600 population, or zero. Zero works good. But 300 to 600 people, if we're just sticking to residentials. And that means, like, compared to 2010, if there was a lot of growth in a particular area and your population, doubled from 600 to 1,200 or 1,300, naturally, when we looked at it this time around, we subdivided more. So I would say the number one reason there are more TAZs now is because of growth. You have more people in the same area, that allows us to divide it up more. We didn't plan for that. We didn't look at any particular TAZs Well, there were a few, but we didn't really look at any TAZs and specifically say we wanted to divide them. But as there's more growth and just the way the census drew the new blocks and we aggregated them, that's what happened. But so we do shoot for 300 to 600 people per TAZ. There are lots of TAZs that violate that. That's the nature of trying to take an idealized model and apply it to the real world. And so if I had asked where the most growth was from 2010, that's going to be pretty similar, at least in my mind, to where most of your new TAZs are. And so off the cuff, I would say most of them are located along the I-40 and I-26 corridors. And other TAZs sometimes get split. For example, you didn't have 653 a few years ago. You haven't had that exact number since 2010. Sometimes TAZs do get added mid-process because there's a reason to. For example, we amended the model last year from 652 to 653 because of the Pratt and Whitney development. That used to be all forested and part of Biltmore Estate, or Biltmore Forest, and didn't have its own loading. But then last year we changed that because there's obviously a big development going in. So these type of things do evolve over time, and that's why there are changes in TAZs. Okay. And now quickly, I'm going to overwhelm you a little bit and just show you all the TAZs in the entire area. And if you can geographically pick out your area of interest, that'd be great. I'm not going to stay here for long, but this is what they are. It's for all 5 counties. And they are all based on census blocks, and they're all nested within block groups. Now, block groups and census blocks change every year, every census. So I went up another level to the track level, which is consistent between censuses, to try to compare to your 2010. So this is a map of the changes between the 2010 and the 2020. Oh boy, let me rephrase that. This is a map of the number of new TAZs in each census track between 2010 and 2020. Sometimes tracks do get split, so some are aggregated. So if you know what tracks look like, you'll see that this is some of them, they're being aggregated together. But so this is where, the dark green is where we've really added more TAZs. It's where most of the growth is being represented, or where other reasons to split TAZs. I said it was along the I-26 corridor. If you squint and look at kind of Henderson for a while, you'll notice that's actually east of the I-26 corridor. So US 25, Swing Creek Road, that area. Some of the rural areas did not really change much. And then Canton, Waynesville, Asheville, Sisters. And so I think this is maybe a little more absorbable at this level of presentation. And so last slide. This is a short presentation. So we've finished making the TAZs. John with the MPO is attaching data to the TAZs. So things like the aforementioned population, employment. We also have school data, university data, visitors, tourist data. Getting back to if there are things you want to hear about from the model, if we can be of aid. We are pulling street light data to try to do much better with visitation this time around. And then step 2 is we'll start calibrating the model against existing AADT data. Now, as you may or may not be aware, every year we go out and collect traffic data, seasonally adjust it to be an annual average, and then we release all of the statewide data at once, usually in the fall of the next year. The 2022 data has not been released yet, so we are still waiting on that. And I don't know if I've ever seen it come out this late before, maybe once before. But normally it's September, October range, we get data. So we're still waiting on traffic data. And then we have a contractor who's been selected. Their contract is in OIG. It's been there a little while. I need to call and follow up on that. But we'll hopefully sign that contract relatively soon, and they can start, looking at these land uses. And one of their methodologies is like that earlier example, looking for where the undeveloped land is, looking for where densities can improve. And they have mathematical models to figure that out. Not my bailiwick. And then I think what you'll be more interested in is really digging into it once there's data attached. Once we can say, hey, this is how much population we're pushing into each TAZ, making sure your areas look reasonable, making sure we're not making any type of mistakes, like moving Biltmore Estates out Cold Mountain Road, because I really need to justify the widening out there. That's a joke. I shouldn't make jokes. It's not bad. But anyways, so I think today is a very kind of technical update on what's been going on. It's informational only. And I think you'll have maybe more questions when we get the data out and attached and shared, and all the base year data, and really validating that. Much like we did 5 years ago when we went through this whole process. So that's it for me.
When do you anticipate the data will be coming out?
I think relatively quick. Tristan, you may have a better idea, but I would think first quarter we look at it.
Yeah, I think so. But I mean, I think, long story short, I think there are a lot of improvements being made to the model to improve it. There are some things we were hoping to get done in this round that they're not looking likely. For instance, right now our AM peak period in the model is the same as our afternoon. That's not quite reflective of what's happening. But a lot of the changes that NCDOT has been working with us on, I think, are going to make our model a much more robust tool.
Yeah, kind of one of those points for the curious. Speaking of AM and PM peaks, one of the presentations yesterday that I'm slightly nerding out on was from another town. I forgot where it was, Minnesota somewhere. But they have, of course, AM and PM traffic peaks that are higher, the two high peaks of the day. But their congestion is actually worse in the middle of the day because of the change in drivers. People who are commuting really know where they're going, but it's people in the middle of the day that kind of like aren't driving as confidently and kind of slow down roads. It was a real interesting presentation. I'm done.
Yeah, Daniel, are you going to need anything from us for your current land use? Figuring out the current land use?
I don't believe so. If there is something we need, John from the MPO will contact you. I know he was making phone calls to like round up school enrollment data. But a lot of census. We've also bought, or the state has provided, the state buys it at state level, Info USA data to go through business. We have street light for visitor data. I'll let the traffic counts. Those are the major inputs.
Yeah. And just to clarify, streetlight is not data talking about the signals throughout the region. Streetlight is the name of a data source to get more, helps with origin and destination. So it's not like a layer of your traffic.
Right, and Janet, just to point out, we shouldn't need the same updates that we've needed in the past. The model has had the base year of 2020. The very intelligent thing our staff, John, primarily did was in 2020 we documented the land use and applied that to the model rather than doing that a couple of years later and then asking you guys for input. So that layer has been updated and was updated in the base year.
Anyone else have any questions? Thank you, Daniel. We really appreciate that. project milestones. I think I see Steve.
Yeah, so, one thing we've asked, for the divisions is a lot of what we talk about at the MPO is fairly nebulous. I've asked each of our divisions if, they could present on some of the things that we're likely to actually see, happening over the next year. Steve graciously, agreed to kick it off with the Division 14 project. What we're likely to see get started and what are some of the milestones we're likely to see with some of their projects over the next year. Take it away, Steve.
Oh, thanks, Tristan. Can y'all hear me and can you see my slide?
Yes.
As Tristan said, we're just going to take a quick look at the projects that are currently under construction. We'll do that first, and what to expect from those projects in 2024. And then we'll talk about the projects that are under development, that are currently being designed, that are going to construction at the very end of this year or in 2024. And then we're just looking at those projects in 2024. Just keep in mind that the full construction project development list is available on the Prince George River MPO website. Starting in Haywood County, the I-40 bridges that are over White Oak Road, that's just north of the Jonathan Creek Road exit. In October, we went back down to one lane of travel in each direction. And that's just to help out with, it allows for faster and cheaper construction of the bridges. The completion date on those two bridges is in the early spring of next year, but there are some other bridges coming, and we'll talk about those in the project development part of the slideshow. Walnut and Main Street in Waynesville is for the most part complete. It's fully open and functional. It's just we have kind of a punch list that we have to go through. So that one is open and functioning well, from what I understand. The sidewalk in Maggie Valley, that's also nearing completion. There are some islands that there needs to be some work done on those islands for the pedestrian crossings come through. And also installation of pedestrian signals, and that is on schedule to be complete again in early spring of next year. There's several bridges that are nearing completion in Haywood County, and we won't discuss those in detail, but there are Brown Hollow Road over the East Fork of the Pigeon River, Little East Fork Road over Swirls Creek, Chinklepin Road over the Pigeon River, and Israel Road over Dutch Cove Road. Any questions about Haywood County projects under construction before we jump to Henderson County? I'll take that as a no. So Henderson County, the I-26 bridges that are over the Green River. If you remember a couple of years ago now in the TCC and TAC meetings, we watched a video about the construction of these bridges, and they finished construction of the lanes that are between the two existing bridges and shifted traffic, down traffic over into those lanes. And so next is the demolition of the existing westbound deck. So that current traffic configuration will be in place for about 6 months. It does have a completion schedule at the end of next year, but it is behind schedule, so we anticipate a schedule change at some point on that project. The I-26 widening in Henderson County, kind of the same thing quite a while. We don't have anything nearly as exciting as the Blue Ridge Parkway Bridge in Division 14, but there's just traffic shifts to accommodate completion of that concrete pavement structure, and you have to be really aware of that. There are press releases coming out to announce nightly closures, and there's actually 2 of those tonight. First one's from exit 44 to exit 49 in Henderson County. Buncombe County is obviously not in Division 14, but be aware that one's exit 33 to Long Shoals Road, as they're moving some of the equipment for that Blue Ridge Parkway Bridge across the interstate. The projected completion date for the portion that's in Henderson County is February of 2025, and they're actually a little bit ahead of schedule. You don't see that. North Highland Lake Road, there's a current detour in place. There's one culvert's been complete, another one hasn't started yet. That detour is actually supposed to be finished by December, but another detour is going to be in place. So it's several more months of detours on that. And just in general, there's widening, paving, curb and gutter that's ongoing there. Again, we have a completion date at the end of next year for that, but we do anticipate a And resurfacing there in Hendersonville, the King Street part of that resurfacing contract is mostly complete. The Church Street, I believe it's already shut down for the year, and that'll pick back up next year to be completed in the summer of 2024. The Coosa Trail, the long-awaited Coosa Trail project, there was a groundbreaking at the end of October, but the pre-construction meeting wasn't held until yesterday. Not exactly sure how we'll find out, but should be expecting construction to start here in another month or so. And we don't have a expected or anticipated completion date on that yet. Any questions on construction projects in Henderson County before we move to Farmersville? All right. So we're going to start with bridges in Haywood County, and I'll get to why sort of the bridges here in just a few minutes. The two bridges on I-40 at Fines Creek and over Pigeon River. We talked about the ones that are ongoing, that are currently under construction, White Oak Road, and this is 5 bridges actually, and these are the last two of those 5 bridges to be constructed. This was a little bit of a pilot project, and how we did this. We let all the bridges at one time to one contractor, and then we kind of negotiate supplemental agreements for them to move forward. It's worked out extremely well. This is supposed to let in the middle of next year, but we anticipate that it will actually let in January. And it will be real similar to the other 3 bridges that have been constructed or currently constructed. They'll maintain traffic during tourist parts of the season, 2 lanes in each direction, but then there'll be non-tourist parts of the year. They'll knock it down to 1 lane. 2 more bridges, US 19 and Richland Creek bridges. This is 19 where it cuts off the Maggie Valley. If you remember, we had a complete design on these that was reconfiguring that interchange, and that got stopped by Raleigh. We had to go back and do another design, and basically it's going to be the thing that's there, but with genuine. That's letting at the end of this year.
You're breaking up a little bit, Steve, but I believe you're saying the bridge was designed to have a different configuration, but that's been changed to remain the same configuration, but larger?
Yes. Can you hear me any better right now?
Oh, much better. Yeah, that's great.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Yes, you're exactly right. We had designed this to reconfigure that interchange that got shot down by Raleigh due to the cost, and we're going back with it's going to be the same configuration that's there now, but with standard lane widths and shoulder widths. And a few things just in general on construction that I meant to hit right when I started. Generally, when you see these go to construction dates, you need to add a couple of months to that date before construction starts. It takes that long just to get the contractor has to get their bonds in place. It's just a paperwork thing for a couple of months. And also, you have to consider bat moratoriums and trout moratoriums. We can't clear between April the 1st and October 15th because that's when the bats are nesting. And then you have to consider stream impacts from October 15th to April 15th for the trout moratorium. So sometimes you see these things let and construction doesn't start for a while, and that's why. Also with utility relocations, we frequently have delays that we're not aware of until right when the contract lets. I mean, we work with utility companies, they're involved in the design for the utility relocation, but then kind of at the last minute, basically they say we can't relocate these until a future date. So just keep that in mind. We certainly try and minimize those interruptions, but it does happen. Another bridge. This is on US 74 over Southern Railroad, and it's just south of I-40. I-40 is up near the top of that map. And I think there was some confusion, or I've heard some confusion on this one, thinking that it was the river or the bridge going over the Pigeon River there, but that's not the case. It's just going over Southern Railroad. And this one, there's actually going to be temporary bridges built to maintain traffic, maintain 2 lanes of traffic in each direction. So there'll be temporary bridges, and then the main structures will come down and be rebuilt, and just to minimize impacts to traffic. And a whole bunch of bridges on I-40. Beaver Dam Road's the one on the map to the right. 215 is the one in the center, and Incinerator Road is to the left there on that map. We're very aware of the issues in Canton with I-40 traffic going through downtown and the outcry of the citizens there. These are being let together, or more or less together, to hopefully minimize that. They are going to be constructed to accommodate 3 lanes in each direction, because we know that that's where we're headed with I-40. You've certainly seen submittals from RPO and MPO to that effect, and we anticipate that to be funded sometime. So we are accommodating those with these designs. Beaver Dam and Incinerator Road are actually going to be converted to a vehicular culvert. There's been a lot of problems with a breakthrough of the bridge decks there, salt degradation and such. And a vehicular culvert, it's not a bridge, it's a culvert like you'd think a stream going through. And those culverts have an expected lifespan of 100 years versus 50 years for a bridge. So we're hoping to eliminate those issues with those vehicular culverts. All right, so we're going to move on to roadway projects in Haywood County.
Steve, can I ask a question? This is Kevin Inslee in Haywood County.
Yes, please, Kevin.
Does the DOT, have they thought about doing performance contracts where if the people get done early, they get a bonus or something, so that these projects they last for a year or 2, and it just seems like if we can build an I-85 bridge in a month in Atlanta, that we ought to be able to do these bridges a lot faster than what we're doing them. And I don't know what it would take to do that, but it is. I mean, I'm looking at all these bridge projects, and I just see headaches for the next few years, and I just wanted to make that comment.
Yeah, and yes, you can certainly have incentives. It comes down to money. Anytime that you see these emergency interstate bridges, I worked for another state where we had one like that, and yes, it was built in about a third of the time that you could build on a normal schedule, but it came in almost, and it was 8 times the cost of that bridge. So that's what it comes down to. Do you have a normal contract length and pay considerably less, or do you incentivize for earlier completion? And and especially in these tight budget times, that's a huge consideration. But yes, it can be done.
Okay. Well, it's just the effects on the local economy by and everybody traveling those roads, that has an impact too as far as dollars go, I think. And I don't know if anybody's ever done a study on that, but it just, sitting in traffic for, an hour or a long time, every day has to add up, to the private sector and I guess just the community sector at large. So, but I just want to make that comment because I just felt like it needed to be made. So, but I understand the money and the budget and all that, but I wish there was a way we could, try to move these forward because it looks to me like it's the same amount of work. It's just that people are working around the clock instead of 8 hours and going home. So I guess that's all I'm trying to see, if you will. So I guess I'm a little bit frustrated and I'm sorry. But anyway, thanks for letting me make my comments.
Oh, certainly. Thanks for your comment.
Anthony, if we could go back just one more second. Will the culverts take shorter amount of time to complete than full-on bridges?
Slightly, yes. There's considerably more earthwork, and those culverts have to be cast in place, but it is slightly less. But that contract for those 3 bridges that we were looking at will be let all together. So basically, the traffic control on it won't be affected on how quickly the culverts versus the bridge can be constructed.
I understand we have lots of concerns in Fort Canton. They've been getting inundated through downtown dramatically. What specifically did you do that will help with that?
Well, so by keeping traffic open, so there will be 2 lanes in each direction open at almost all times. There will have to be some times when it's necked down to 1 lane, but that'll happen at night, and that will be minimized. Also, by having 3 lanes, since as I said, we're constructing 3 lanes in each direction, that'll help out as far as keeping those lanes open.
You get to go to another one that's going to cause some headaches for us is the Jonathan Creek roundabout.
So I couldn't hear that. I'm sorry.
So we're going to move on to the Jonathan Creek, which is going to cause some other headaches for us in Haywood County.
Yes, yeah. We have a few more Haywood County projects coming up here. So Jonathan Creek, letting in the fall of next year, fairly straightforward project, just modernizing the roadway, 12-foot travel lanes and paved shoulders, and that's projects mainly called for because of safety issues. And then there is a roundabout at the Maggie Valley end there. The design of the roundabouts changed slightly. This was from the conceptual design from the public workshop, but essentially it's the same thing. And that goes from US 19 to I-40. Another one in Haywood County is Russ Avenue, and that's from 2374 to Main Street. That's letting at the end of this year. This project we wanted to let almost 2 years ago, and there's been major delays due to railroad right-of-way. And we wanted to let it a few years ago just so that it would be well underway, even almost completed before the bridge projects, but the funding and the delays just it just didn't work out that way. This is an access management project, 11-foot travel lanes in each direction, 5-foot bike lanes, and then sidewalks on either side. And do we have anything else, any other comments about Haywood County before we get into Henderson County projects? All right.
Are they gonna paint, Steve?
I can't hear you.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes, I can now.
Okay, when are the contractors gonna finish the paving, the striping of the mountain before you go into Buncombe? Because they repaved, but they didn't finish the striping. It's been a couple weeks.
That on 40?
Uh-huh.
Steve, it's on I-40, coming from Buncombe to Haywood County, the resurfacing project.
But I think the striping on concerned about is it says no trucks left lane,
Thank God, yes.
and it hasn't been put back. And that's heading east. So you're coming from Haywood County, going over the mountain to go down into Buncombe.
Yeah, usually, striping, when did they finish the paving? Striping is usually within a week after they finish paving. And I don't have an answer, but I can certainly find out.
Yeah, it's been about 2 to 3 weeks, and I will consider. The trucks know that they're not supposed to be in the right-hand lane, but since there's no striping, they are in the right-hand lane.
Okay. Yeah, I'll get an answer for that and get that back. Anything else in Haywood County? All right, Henderson County, there's only one bridge project, and this is really minor on Tracy Grove Road. I think there's only a couple of businesses there that impacts letting go into contract at the beginning of the year. And moving to roadway projects, we have NC 191, and that goes from Mountain Road up to 280 in the Mills River area. There's actually two different major cross sections here. In the Mills River area, the one up top there is a 5-lane section. It does have a multi-use path and paved shoulders for bike lanes. When you get out in the county, it converts to an access management type project with a raised median in the center. It has 11-foot travel lanes and paved shoulders for bike lanes. It does not have pedestrian facilities. And that was taken out, actually, the project just because of the cost share with the county. And that's letting the middle of next year. US 64 in the Laurel Park area. This is going to be our showcase for roundabouts. This is a divided 2-lane, 12-foot travel lane in each direction, 5-foot paved shoulders, and pedestrian facilities on each side. Letting in May of next year. And that's it for the bridges and the roadway projects in Haywood and Henderson County. Are there any more questions?
Steve, this is Vicki. Folks in Transylvania County would be happy to hear that their neighbors are getting on the roundabout train, so that they're not the only ones getting questioned for decisions.
Well, good.
Thank you, Steve. That was fantastic. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
So for our last informational item, we have Jessica Morris with the City of Asheville. And so the City of Asheville right now is the direct recipient of transit funds for the region. So just very quickly on how that works, the MTA provides federal transit funds to the region. The MPO is responsible for kind of distributing those funds, but the direct recipient is responsible for a lot of the oversight and agreements and actual disbursement of the funds between the city and its various sub-recipients. So there's a whole lot that goes into that. As part of it is the FTA triennial review. That's something that requires a whole lot of work from city staff as part of that. And so to kind of talk to us a little bit about what's going on with the triennial review and regional transit funding in the region. Thank you, Jessica, for joining us, and please take it away.
Thanks, everybody. I don't have a presentation. I just thought I'd talk a little bit about this with you guys, and if there are any questions, feel free to jump in and ask those, or you can wait till the end. But we are in the, I think, kind of the final, getting closer to the final stages of the current triennial review. So triennial means every 3 years. We actually I think this is year 4 because COVID sort of set everybody back, including the Federal Transit Administration, for their reviews. So this is very much like a financial audit. It's similar in a lot of ways, but it also has some, I'll say, some extra components of it that go beyond just financial policies and procedures, and it dips into compliance, it dips into how you process your grants, it gets into making sure that you're maintaining assets appropriately, so looking at preventative maintenance records. There's 23 different areas that FTA comes in and reviews, and we basically started in January of this year on this process, and so we are almost at the end of the year, and so it's been a year-long kind of back and forth with FTA and their consultants that perform these audits. We started, like I said, back in January. What they generally do is they say, you know, this is your year, this is your consultant that you're going to be working with. They start to set up a file system where we provide documents that they request, and they start to forward those requests to us, and then we have to respond in turn by providing them with documentation that they've requested. So it's been kind of this ongoing back and forth with them over the last 10 or 11 months. And it's not just them looking at what the city is doing, they also are looking to make sure that the subrecipients, those organizations that we facilitate their grants and we pass money through to them, that they are also following FTA rules and regulations as well. So similar to an audit, they don't look at every single little thing. They'll pick kind of random things and say, I want to see your Title VI policy. I want to see the preventative maintenance that you did on bus 1223 from the last 3 years. So you never exactly know what they're going to ask for and what they may not. So it can be a little bit nerve-wracking, but their goal is to not necessarily be punitive, but to help the organizations, including us, have better processes and policies in place and make sure that we are improving whatever needs to be improved. So we have gotten, I think, our last round of requests prior to them finishing up their review, and then what they do is a series of exit interviews with the city and with subrecipients who they've requested information from, and we're expecting those exit interviews to take place sometime towards the end of the month, first week of December. And they used to do all of this in person. Before COVID, they would have a team of consultants that would come in for a whole week and sit in a conference room and do this whole process of the exit interviews. But they're now doing those virtually, which is really very helpful. So we are expecting to have those exit interviews in a few weeks. Then what they do is they write a final, kind of like a final report, and they have, in some cases, if they have findings, that they will write what their findings are, and those are the things that you are or your subrecipients are required to remedy within a certain time frame, and they provide what that time frame is, and then you have to go back and work on that issue and submit additional information to them to satisfy that you have become compliant in whatever that area was. So It's definitely a very time-consuming process for our staff, but it's something that, as federal grant recipients, that we all have to participate in. So when we get our final report and findings, we'd be more than happy to share that with whoever is interested. There's usually the things that they find issues with, or I'll say areas for improvement, usually have to do with keeping good records and procurement practices and policies related to procurement. Those seem to be, and civil rights related issues. So making sure that you have appropriate ADA policies and Title VI policies. Those sorts of things are kind of the hot topic areas that they tend to really focus on and usually find some areas for improvement. So yeah, I think that's pretty much the summary. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Anyone have any questions for Jessica? Seems like as soon as you finish this one, you'll be getting ready for the next one.
Pretty much, yeah, exactly. And it seems like every time they do this, they have new areas of interest. So yeah, it's fun.
Thank you, Jessica.
Yeah. So, I mean, just to note this, we don't talk about this topic very often. We are talking about kind of in the neighborhood of roughly $5 million a year in transit funds that come to the region. And yes, the triennial review is a big lift. So I think, following what's going on with transit is kind of its own task. When I started here, the phrase that I heard was, there is no mode with less funding and more work than public transportation. It's a lot, but there's a lot going on. It's worth keeping up with. And in January, we'll be talking about the draft UPWP, which includes what tasks the city plans to do with the 5303 funds. Those are metropolitan planning funds that come to the region and go to the city. And so that's something that'll come before this board at our next meeting in January.
Perfect. Thank you. Next, we'll go to the Division 13 update.
Good afternoon, everyone. This is Chris Medlin. I'm the district engineer in Buncombe County. Hannah Cook had a conflict, so she wasn't able to attend the meeting today and asked me to give a couple of updates in Buncombe County. I'll start with the I-4700 project on I-26 in Buncombe County. The traffic has been switched to the 2 lanes in each direction on the westbound side of I-26 from Airport Road to the Blue Ridge Parkway. And the contractor is focusing their efforts on demolishing the old eastbound travel lanes of I-26 from Airport Road to Long Shoals Road. Currently, concrete paving continues on the westbound lanes of I-26 from the French Broad River Bridge to the end of the project that's near Brevard Road, where I-26 widens back out. On the French Broad River Bridge, the substructure has been completed. And the contractor is working towards preparing the reinforcing steel on the bridge deck, and in the near future, we'll be pouring the concrete bridge deck as well. Work has resumed on the Parkway Bridge over I-26 over the eastbound lanes of I-26. The contractor has set the interior bent, and they are also setting the bridge deck sections right now. As Steve mentioned, there will be a overnight closure to transition the segment lifter from the westbound side of I-26 to the eastbound side of the bridge. There are no scheduled traffic switches in the immediate future as the contractor has a lot of work to do on the eastbound side of the project. Moving to I-40, we have a maintenance resurfacing contract in place from mile marker 45 to mile marker 50. The work on that section has not started yet, but as a supplement to that contract, the left lane of I-40 near exit 44 is currently being repaired. That work has been progressing, and the goal is to finish the repair work in the left lane and reopen the left lane to the original traffic configuration prior to the start of the Thanksgiving holiday travel. So hopefully the weather will cooperate tomorrow and the weekend, and everything will progress and get that lane back open. Another project that we've been working on is the sidewalk construction across the Amboy Road Bridge. The project is essentially complete. The contractor still has a couple of punch list items that they are working on over the next several weeks, but the project is substantially complete and being utilized by pedestrians. Another project that we have that's getting started is an acceleration lane on US 74A at the end of the I-40 eastbound ramp. The contractor started mobilizing this week, bringing in some drainage pipe to prepare for the installation of that drainage pipe over the next several weeks. The contractor is going to perform that work over the winter. And then once spring comes around and temperatures get better, they will progress to the grading and asphalt work of that acceleration lane. Two other pedestrian improvement projects, one at Patton and Haywood Road, and the other at North Louisiana and Emma Road. Both of those projects have been let, but the contractor has not started work on either one. Being late in the season, work may not take place until the spring on those projects, but we'll keep everyone posted if contractor decides to go ahead and mobilize in and begin those projects. And that's all I had, if anyone had any questions.
Anyone have any questions for Chris? Thank you. I'm guessing that the Division 14 will be abbreviated.
Or we could go through all of them again, if you'd like. So yeah, we've already been through all these. The only one that I did not cover, let's go to the project development sheet, please. In Henderson County, I think it'll be down towards the bottom of the sheet, B5929. I did not hit on that. That's actually a municipal project. It's managed by the city of Hendersonville. It's showing a let date of January of next year. And their consultants handling this project, and there's we're waiting on some right of way to be purchased. We do not anticipate that to be let in January, just so you're aware. Otherwise, I think that's the only change from what we talked about earlier.
Any other questions for Steve? Going once? Well, thank you so much, Steve.
Thank y'all.
Next we get to hear back from Daniel for a transportation planning branch.
Okay, it looks like I'll get it up. Tristan, you didn't have it, did you?
The newsletter, no.
Yeah. Which is excusable considering I almost always send it to you at the very last minute. It's my fault. Definitely my fault. Boom. All right, I'll give that a couple seconds to pop up on your screen.
Yeah.
And Yay. Well, can I make this bigger now that I'm in? There we go. So yeah, you get a newsletter. I actually went through the archives and decided this is only your fourth newsletter of the year, but that has to do with just trying to get enough news to actually aggregate things up. We'll start off with, of course, the big item, which is this is the year of the trail. You've all heard about this several times. I will say in the recently passed, not passed last week, but recently passed general budget, there was additional funding for Bike and Ped, including 25 million of competitive grants. 5 million for complete the trails, and that's specifically for the 14, I think it's 14 identified state trails like Mountains to Sea. When I was looking at this on the map, I suddenly realized that the state trails are not the same as, or do not overlap the state bike routes. So like the Highlands route through Transylvania County, and Henderson County is not part of the trails plan. If anybody wants to get that fixed for me. And finally, there's $25 million for specific projects, half of which is going to the Sula de Grade Trail. And then South Carolina is pitching in almost the same amount. And then there's also a little bit of money for some trails up near Old Fort. So I think y'all did pretty well. There are also events being regularly held as part of the Year of the Trail. I kind of looked on the calendar for some ones upcoming. They're all in November, surprisingly enough. So since you've been sitting down for a couple hours, I'm sure everybody wants to head out to DuPont Forest this afternoon and get in a hike to Cedar Rock. And you should take your camping gear and just stay overnight, because tomorrow is National Hiking Day, and DuPont is also hosting a 5-mile hike up to Reason Over Creek. I know I'll try to get some hiking in tomorrow for sure. Then even though it's outside the region, who could resist putting the Surrey County Wine Trail event up here? 17 tastings at wineries, breweries, and distillings along the trail. If that doesn't give anybody some inspiration for local ideas, I don't know what will. And finally, down at Gorges, there is the Turkey Trek, which I think is just aptly named. Moving on, National Electric Vehicle Infrastructure. That plan was finished a little while ago, but we have released a follow-up document, which is the development plan, implementation, follow-up plan to the NEVI. Talking about, actual, I wouldn't say concrete, but next steps that we're trying to accomplish. Some of that is data driven. So we are now hosting, or it's probably been up there a while, but zero emission vehicles registration data is on our website, available by county, updated monthly. So there are, say 50,000 electric vehicles registered in North Carolina, which I guess is a little bit of a surprise to me that it eclipsed the number of plug-in hybrids. I would think people would maybe favor having the redundancy of hybrids still, but electric vehicles have shot up and outpace the hybrids, 50,000 to 20,000. Since we have the plan finished, we were eligible to receive funding from the feds to actually implement electrical vehicle charging stations along the corridors, the designated corridors, alternative fuel corridors. And I'll just note, we've brought this up several times in this meeting before, that Asheville is as far west, or the region is as far west as those plans go on I-26 and I-40. And we had asked previously that US 74 be added to at least give connections out through Southwest RPO, but that did not make the final plan. Related, but not actually part of the NEVI project, was the Cassie pilot project has wrapped up. This was a automated person mover in Cary, North Carolina, city of Cary, where people could, walk on and walk off small little autonomous vehicle that, moved without a driver, navigated. I think there was like one intersection, but it was either on a park or it was on campus. Anyways, a lot of that data and follow-up report is online. Some of the tidbit takes away was people were still not satisfied with the braking algorithm and found it kind of jerking and sudden. But overall the pilot was a bit success, and they're scaling it up to a bigger deployment hopefully later. For travel forecasts, so this is an item that disappeared for a while and came back. A couple completed forecasts that happened earlier in the year that I forgot about were some bridge improvements at not bridge improvements, modernization projects along Signal Hill. Two other forecasts that just started, Sweeting Creek Road update. Seems like we just updated this one. And Amboy Road update are both beginning. These will be due in the spring. We also did just update the model for these projects because of the MTP amendments in August, as you all remember. And one of those amendments affected Sweeting Creek Road, the southern end of Sweeting Creek Road. And I need to have some conversations about what the impacts of that are going to be. Now for my favorite section of the newsletter, the fun statewide updates. State agencies did a mock trail derailment, which, if memory serves me correct, I saw an abnormal number of trail derailments in the summer, in the spring, nationwide. They kept making the news, so NCDOT decided to just practice it. We brought together a lot of interagencies, not just DOT, but emergency management, health and human services, environmental quality, feds, and private railroad companies, emergency response crews, and making sure we knew who communicated with whom and how that would go down. Also in train news, I saw that Salisbury in October hosted a meeting of Metro Mayors, or the Mayors Coalition, to support the expansion of passenger rail, both to Western North Carolina and to Wilmington. And I know our proposal is in front of the feds. We haven't received word back. I also have not heard about an updated study as far as the viability of the rail service. NC Turnpike got their bond rating upgraded. I know everybody's so interested in financial news. But I put this in here because I like thinking that when we have good, well-designed projects and the numbers are dialed in correctly, we have alternative funding open to us. The markets, recognize that these projects have been successful. And we can bring on additional partners and deliver more projects. Next, transportation leaders break ground on the first multimodal electric charging station at an airport. So when we talk about multimodal operations, we are almost always thinking some sort of transit, walking to transit, driving to transit, park and ride lots. But this is actual electric charging station that can be used by both planes and vehicles at the airport. So an electric plane flew down for the demonstration project. And much like vehicles, electric planes probably have their place in short flights, local observation flights, dustings, stuff like that. We're not quite at transatlantic commercial flights. But of course, electric airplanes in general use the bulk of their fuel on takeoff and landing because of the torque requirements, which is where electric motors excel. So they can be really efficient for that. Final news, North Carolina ports rank #1 for efficiency in moving containers on and off ships. This was published by the World Bank and S&P Global Markets. And we moved up from third or fourth to be the #1 in North America, 44th in the world, up a few spots from last year. And that's out of 348 included in the study. And that, of course, is how quickly we bring vehicles in, get them unloaded, loaded, and get them back at sea. And this has actually driven up so much volume that I saw another press release that they're now running a express freight rail from the ports to the CSX terminal in Rocky Mount. An extra, maybe it's an overnight express freight only train just to keep all the goods moving. So busy times, and it talks about all the coordination that has to happen to make sure there's no bottlenecks anywhere. And finally, the cash report. Y'all been seeing this one for a while, so y'all know what that is. So, any questions? Another update that happened. It was announced that the Statewide Planning Initiatives Group, which is the group that produces like the NEVI plan, the freight plan, truck parking plan, they run our air quality CMAQ grant program. Anyways, that group is actually being moved out of my branch into another branch. There have been some jostlings on first floor at NCDOT. And anyways, they're being reassigned. Hopefully that won't affect things. I mean, a lot of these, they're being moved over to some strategic initiatives group, which it's exactly the type of thing they fit into. The only thing I'd be a little concerned about is if there's going to be a disruption in the CMAQ program. So just when the CMAQ grant opportunities open up, just pay attention if there have been any changes who you have to deliver those things to and deadlines. All right. Those are the updates from Planning Branch. Any questions?
Next is the Federal Highways, Suzette.
Suzette wasn't able to join us today. The Winston NPO board is meeting at the exact same time, and I believe they meet quarterly, so she went to that one instead. But Suzette, if you haven't been looking at the newsletter she provides, it's been very helpful and is included in your agenda packet. Other updates from the MPO, I won't go through committees and whatnot, and I will be as quick as I can, but we do have a couple of things just really quick. First of all, 2024 meetings, we're going to maintain the same schedule, so the board will continue to meet the third Thursdays at 1 p.m. With no meeting in July or December. The TCC will be the second Thursdays at 11 a.m. No meetings in July or December. And the joint meeting will be in November, once again on the third Thursday. The MPO prioritization subcommittee, that'll continue to meet the first Wednesdays at 9:30 a.m. But all in all, not to prolong things, but I did want to say thank you to this group. Over the last year, I tried to pull highlights of all the things that we've done. And the font got really, really small. We have done a whole lot in the past year, awarding funding from different federal funding pots, providing letters of support, working through the development of the new TIP and STIP, which was not an easy one considering we were deciding what projects to cut rather than what projects to fund. Going through the new cycle of P7.0, receiving new grants. So the Safe Streets for All planning grant that we received, we got consultant letters of interest. That group will be meeting soon to pick a consultant and get to work. Also a Safe Routes to School grant, we did hire a Safe Routes to School coordinator. They will be starting November 27th. For some reason, they didn't want to start the week of Thanksgiving. We went through with all of our different locally administered projects and provided updates. updating cost estimates and providing what funding we could to cover some of those cost increases. Going through, less excitingly, the biennial congestion report. I love a good congestion report, but that is a bit of a haul. And wildlife crossings, parking rides, educational events. There's been a whole lot that we've been going through, and you all have helped to guide and make decisive decisions on almost all of those things. So thank you for the time everyone has put in over the past year. We do have, it's getting blocked, but not quite participation trophies for the year, but we'll, even later than participation trophies. But we did want to recognize the people whose attendance was above and beyond. So with the TCC, Autumn Radcliffe and William Hyde, you guys, I believe, attended every single TCC meeting. So
we are the chair and vice chair. We need to be there.
Well, regardless, everyone's very busy. Thank you. The MPO board, Jennifer Hensley, attended every single MPO meeting, and I will add, one of those meetings was from New York City, chaperoning, was it middle schoolers? Chaperoning several children. Going above and beyond.
students.
And that was, she shared that one, I believe, because I was at CTOT in Raleigh.
Yeah, shared that, and I think the hotel Wi-Fi wasn't working.
Kudos, Jennifer, you did fantastic.
Absolutely. Thank you everyone for your participation in our meetings. I did want to give a big thank you to some of our departing board members. Jerry Dehan, honestly, our records at the MPO are digital going back to roughly 2012, and then they go in more and more into paper. I did not find the start of Jerry Dehan's participation at the MPO. He's not with us today, but there is a whole lot going on in Woodfin, and Jerry has been a strong leader for that community and helping to pull down a lot of the improvements that are moving forward. Bob Davey, Bobby is with us, and I will just say that, Bob, your questions that you have had at all the MPO board meetings have been so good at helping to challenge assumptions and things that sometimes we or I just take for granted. Bob will be stepping down from the Town of Fletcher's council, but I wanted to recognize you both and thank you for all the time and effort you've put in to regional transportation planning.
Appreciate it.
Thank you, Bob. Somewhat on a less fun note, we have been working with finance, and we're still working out some of the details, but we are looking at a roughly 23% increase in local dues for fiscal year 25. That's something that I think we'll talk to the leadership team, but with some of the increases to cost of living and whatnot, in the last fiscal year, we utilized carryover dues or unutilized local dues to try to bridge that gap. With the upcoming fiscal year, we anticipate to maintain what we have. Local dues will need to be increased. But we will provide details on that since I know a lot of people are starting to work through their budgets. Also, Vicki and I have been working with NCDOT on the Western North Carolina Regional Transit Plan. That's a transit plan that looks at identifying needs and opportunities around Western North Carolina. That includes the MPO area, RPO area, and also the Foothills RPO area. So Polk, McDowell, Rutherford, not Rutherford, folks, Rutherford. So we did send out a survey. If any help with distribution would be much appreciated. We did send out paper copies to a few agencies If there's anyone who feels like paper copies would help, please let us know, and we're happy to send those out. And that runs through December 1st. Also, survey season. So one of the things we talked about last month was going through the memorandum of understanding. We did develop a survey with the MPO prioritization subcommittee. So we will be sending out surveys to the TCC and to the board to provide input on MPO voting distribution, voting procedures, quorum, and so much more. But it is we kept it, as SurveyMonkey says, it's 8 minutes. So let's just, be grateful. Thanksgiving almost. Also, speaking of upcoming holidays, the MPO certification review is coming up. That's something that's required every 4 years. Ours was 3 years ago, but we're getting onto a different cycle. And so what that entails is an in-person review with FHWA and FTA. That plans to be held Wednesday, December 13th, and that will be at Land Sky Regional Council. We are opening a public comment period. We'll send that out today, and that'll run through December 12th. And there will be a public open house on Tuesday, December 12th from 4 to 6 p.m. at the Dr. Wesley Grant Senior Southside Community Center in Asheville. That's on Livingston Street. Again, we'll send out details to the TCC board and interested citizens on all of that. But all in all, that's all the updates we've got. We hope everyone has a fantastic holiday season. The next TCC meeting is scheduled for January 11th, and the next board meeting is scheduled for January 18th. I will be on vacation for 2 weeks, so don't bug me for those. But in the meantime, any questions, please feel free to reach out. And thank you all for a great 2023.
Thank you. Two small things. I think this meeting was extremely well considering as many people that were involved. So thank you, everyone. Second, I would like to acknowledge the people who won. We did not lose one single MPO member in this last election cycle, which was fantastic. So Dr. Hamlet and myself, and I think there was a couple others. Mike Evelyn. Got this right, Mike Evelyn. So Haywood County did good in coming. So thank you. Thank you, everyone. Is there any public comment? So I'll let Jennifer do the honors. Why did I say Jennifer? I'm so sorry.
No, we don't usually take a motion on ours to adjourn.
No, so with that, we'll adjourn. Thank you. Thank you.